Mic check 1 2, mic check 1 2. Hey, what's up? Thanks for watching Top Class Tutorials. In this video, I'm going to be demonstrating how I went about mixing and mastering a R&B song by the name of "Take Your Shirt Off" by Picasso AV. Little background story: me and Picasso AV have been working for a long time. He's been doing music for a long time. Super talented songwriter, singer. And just all around just great guy and really just smart. Got a good head on his shoulders, very business oriented. Can't speak enough about Picasso. Anywho, he contacted me and we do a lot of work together, and he said, "Hey, I got this song, I want you to mix it." He recorded it at his home studio, which is basically just his bedroom. He comes to my studio when he wants to get, tighter, cleaner performances and stuff. But when he's trying to get ideas together and see if they're worth salvaging or whatever, he'll send them over to me to kind of touch them up a little bit. And so I have the session pulled up here. And in this session, it's just pretty much like the raw vocals. I went in and did some editing already. Basically, this was the mix, and I just saved a copy of it and just stripped all the plugins off and kind of got rid of a lot of the routing just so it was easier to kind of see. There is some volume adjustments on here, and I also went ahead and created some groups so it would make it easier for me to move all these tracks together. Now I also have, except for these two, I have all the tracks panned up the middle. So there's no really mixing at all on this session. So you can get an idea of how the raw just sound is. And the last thing is I have a limiter on my mix bus here so that I don't clip and I can get the track up to volume so it you can hear it better. So I'll go ahead and play the song from the beginning to the end so you can hear what the entire song sounded like without any mixing, mastering, plugins, or anything.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You keep telling me that you wanna try my love, but I get active, babe. Drop that wood off and I can make your body praise me. You wanna give it to me like I wanna give it to you in an exotic way. I just wanna feed you, baby. Eat it up, let me feel your body up. Eat it up, let me feel your body up. Come and take your shirt off. Come on, let me take your shirt off for me. What you want tonight? I just wanna see your body. Do what it wanna do tonight. Yeah. Come and take your shirt off. Baby, let me take them clothes off me. Let's get indecent tonight. I just wanna learn your body. Just teach me how to do it right. Yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. You keep telling me all these niggas be on that cap and shit. All you really need, big dick energy. I think I can provide it. Baby, won't you come try it? I can make you feel high, babe. High out your fucking mind. I wanna lick on your nipples, I just wanna grip them, kiss them, put them in my face, you know I like it. I can play with them as long as you with it. Take that shit off, feeling that booty, baby, you're so soft. I'm tasting your body like you got the sauce. Yeah. We fuck around, but you do it just how I like it. Come on, take your shirt off, take it on off. Let me slide on panties to the side. I just wanna see your body. Tell me what you wanna do, baby. Show me what to do. Yeah. Take your shirt off, take it off me. Yeah. I just wanna learn your body. Teach me how to do it right. Yeah, 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 yeah. just want to see your body on your mind. What you wanna do, yeah. Let me take your shirt off. Let me take my shirt off. I just want to know your body.
Okay, I was wondering when that would eventually happen. So you get the idea. That's the whole song, kind of a rough cut with no plugins. My first impression of the song was definitely the vocals needed to be brighter, and the background vocals just needed to be balanced a little bit more, so they just fit more in the song. Overall, great song. I liked it. And I will open up the mix version now. So give me a second while I open that up. Mic check 1 2 1 2. Mic check 1 2. All right, great. So this is the finished session. I have my instrumental folder and my vocal folder right here. I'll go into my mix bus. And what I also did was import the two separate versions to get a comparison between the two. So what I'll do now is play my mix, which is going to be this purple track right here that I'm playing. So
You keep telling me that you wanna try my love, but I get active bad. Drop that wood off and I can make your body praise me. You wanna give it to me like I wanna give it to you in exotic way. I just wanna feed you, baby. Heat it up, let me feel your body up. Heat it up, let me feel your body up. Come and take your shirt off. Come on, let me take your shirt off. What you want tonight? I just wanna see your body. What it wanna do tonight? Come and take your shirt off. Baby, let me take them clothes. Let's get indecent tonight. I just wanna learn your body. Just teach me how to do. Teach me how to do it right. You keep telling me all these niggas be on that cap and shit. All you really need, big dick energy. I think I can provide it. Baby, won't you come try it? I can make you feel high, babe. High out your fucking mind. I wanna lick on your nipples, I just wanna grip them, kiss them, put them in my face, you know I like it. I can play whatever song as you with it. Take that shit off, feeling that booty, baby, you so soft. I'm tasting your body like you got the sauce. But we fuck around, but you do it just how I like it. Come on, take your shirt off, take it on off. Let me slide on panties to the side tonight. I just don't wanna see your body. Tell me what you wanna do, baby. Show me what to do. Yeah, take your shirt off, take it on off. I'm getting this, you know you're fine. I just wanna learn your body. Teach me how to do it right. Come on, take your shirt off tonight. I just wanna see what's on your mind. Let me take your shirt off. Let me take my shirt off. I just want to know your body back. Learn your body.
Okay, so that is my mix. So I'm gonna go ahead and mute this track and start going through my mix bus process and kind of how I went about mixing this song. So my first step pretty much is always putting a limiter or some type of plug-in that makes my track loud enough so I can really kind of hear everything. Typically that is a limiter. I'll just lower the threshold until I get it kind of to where it's just kind of just peaking a little bit. So for example, I typically start with the instrumental, which is these two tracks right here. It's actually a little bit of a blend between two different kind of beats, and we just kind of move some of the layers in and out. So it's kind of two tracks here together. But what I'll do is find an area that's kind of loud or has some kick drum in it, and I'll just play it, and I'll set my threshold. So I'll go ahead and play, do a fade in time. So I'll go ahead and play this section right here and adjust my limiter. Okay, perfect. So it's not really hitting this meter at all, which is kind of what I want. Once I add the vocals in, we're going to have a lot more input coming in, and it will probably indefinitely hit this threshold and start to get some limiting. My settings on this, I tried something a little bit different. I have this character knob turned all the way up to 100%, just to kind of see what it does. I think it's kind of like a soft clip, basically, because when I have this at 100%, I get a little bit more integrated LUFS. So that's probably what's going on there. And that's pretty much it on my mix bus for this. This wasn't a master, so I don't have my mastering chain on here. I just put a limiter just to kind of get things up to volume. With my beat, I actually used this plugin from Ozone called Low End Focus to bring out more of the punch, because I didn't have the stems to this this beat. I couldn't turn the kick up or down, and when you try to use an EQ, it just doesn't sound right. It boosts the lows, but it boosts like everything in that low frequency. This somehow figures out kind of what the kick drum frequency is, and just kind of adds like some transient shaping and enveloping to it to kind of bring it out, along with I think some EQ shaping. But I'm not really sure what goes on behind the scenes with this plugin. What I do know is that you just select the range that you want and just kind of decide whether you want it more punchy or more smooth. And contrast essentially is just like the mix knob, if you will. If you want more of punchiness, you just turn this contrast knob up and you'll get more punchiness. If you want less punchiness, you turn this contrast knob down. If you want it smoother, turn it up. If you want it less smooth, you turn it down, I guess would be the inverse of that. But I usually just use punchy. Typically, whenever I pull out this plugin, I select the area that I want the kick to come out more, turn up the punchy about 50%, and it usually does the trick. But it's a super, super heavy CPU plugin. I mean, it's adding 12,000 samples of delay just from this one plugin. So typically what I'll do is I will do that plugin, and then I will render the plugin. Excuse me. Then I'll print the plugin into the audio file, so it's just always there. and there's no delay compensation or anything like that. And I'll just make the plugin inactive. So that way, if I do need to go back and do any changes or fine tuning, it's right there. I don't have to, worry about my settings or anything like that. It'll all be there for me. So that's pretty much the beat. And then the next step was the vocals now. One of the, I guess I should say, rules that I set for this session was I had to use only stock plugins as much as possible. So 90% of this session is stock plugins, which for those of you that have Pro Tools but don't have like a lot of plugins, this will be a good session for you just to kind of see how I use some of the stock plugins that come with Pro Tools Ultimate. I'm not sure if it comes with Pro Tools Artist or any of the other series. I have a Pro Tools Ultimate subscription because I need all the tracks when I'm working. So the first thing I did was work on my lead vocal. I'll start there, and I'll just delete, no, not delete, mute these. And we will take off some of this reverb stuff. So this should be just my lead vocal and the instrumental track playing together. So let's see what we get here. So the first thing I did on that intro was I added like a telephone kind of effect, pretty standard kind of effect I use a lot. I have a low pass, high pass filter on here just to kind of focus on everything in between 500 hertz and around 3K ish. The stock EQ is really kind of a good go-to plugin for just overall just balance, because it just is, it's a great stock plugin. I don't like it when I'm trying to do fine-tune editing. I find I have a difficult time working on such a small little screen here. Another plugin I like to use, I can like zoom in specifically on certain frequencies, so I can basically see everything between like 500 and 1K and like all the bands in between there, and really like hone in on the frequencies that I'm trying to isolate. But for just quick effects like a telephone effect, I will use a telephone, or I will use the stock EQ. I also have a boost here. There's a shelf just to kind of give it a little more presence, a little more height. And that's pretty much it. On my lead vocals, what I do is go through and just do manual editing, which means getting rid of unwanted noise, blank dead space, kind of like this right here. I don't need this at all. I typically go through and get rid of some of the other things, but this is, I'm not going to do too much editing right now or show you, because it's already been edited. What I do is create these playlists, and so I can always go back to the original, and that's the original lead vocal with no auto-tune, de-essing, or anything. There is some clip gain on here, but essentially that is the raw, unaltered vocal. So if I ever need to go back, I can always go into this playlist and change it. And then this is my edited vocal lead. It's got auto-tune in there, and some de-essing. I even have, on this particular lead, I have a multi-band. Here, I'll make that active just so you can see what I did. I have a multi-band compressor just on this lead vocal, because specifically this vocal take had a lot of low end rumbliness in it, and I got it on a couple other tracks here too. There's a multi-band compressor here and a multi-band compressor here, and basically on those tracks there was just a lot of build-up and low end frequency and kind of mud. I was also kind of taming some of the stuff around the 1K area, but I once I had my lead vocal kind of like how I wanted it to sound, I printed it so that all my effects would be in there. And now this is how my lead vocal sounds with all my processing.
You keep telling me that you wanna try my love, but I get active, babe. I can make your body praise me. You wanna give it to me like I wanna give it to you in an exotic way. I just wanna feed you, baby.
So that is just the cleaned up vocal. Not much else is going on these tracks. I have some sends where it's going through some buses and some chorusing effects that I'll talk about later. And pretty much that's how I did the entire lead vocal. Kind of when it gets down to this end area, I went in and did some fine tuning with the gain adjustments so that things could just kind of fit right. I also kind of helped out the performance a lot by just deciding kind of how I wanted tracks to kind of blend and mesh together. So right here, I kind of have things separated on different tracks so that it all kind of cohesively flows and sounds nice. So I'll play that section.
I just wanna see your body. Tell me what you want, baby. Show me what to do. Take your shirt off, take it on.
So even though like these kind of vocals are kind of like going over on top of each other, I still kind of consider them kind of like the lead vocal. And so I just kind of have them just kind of working together there. Not one is, way louder than the other, and they just kind of flow nice together. Originally, there was a couple in there that I didn't like, so I just kind of took them out and did some rearranging and editing. So that's that. And then also during the process, I was sending, this is mix 5. I would send a mix to Picasso, and he would say, hey, I just don't like the way I did this lead take. Let me try to redo it, and I'll send another lead vocal take to you. So a couple times I had to go in here and just replace the original lead vocal altogether with a completely different take. And that's all I had to really do is just basically just kind of drag the audio where I wanted it to go, make the changes, and then I would activate my auto tune and stuff like that. Oh, come on. Don't tell me auto tune's going to crash. Okay. So, yeah, this is kind of why I don't deactivate and activate a lot of these plugins during these sessions. So, I would just go in and find the settings to work specifically for that take, and then I would hit Command Option Shift C, and that brings up my commit tracks window. I can either do it by selected track, so it would be this entire lead vocal track right here, or I can do edit selection. I can consolidate the clip if, say, for example, I do the entire selected track and it's like what you see here. It's like little individual clips throughout the entire track, and it's just not one single audio file. It will actually consolidate those clips and put it all into one file for you. I actually don't like to do that. I like to see things separated when I commit the tracks, just so that I have a visual of kind of how the edit looked also. And then volume and mute, I actually don't render that automation either, because I'm in Pro Tools. I have all the automation capabilities, and I don't want to render that necessarily. I can always just go in and change it later. Same thing with pans. Copy, sends, and group assignments. This is something that I will select if I am going to hide and make the track inactive, or make it inactive and then just use the new track or use the committed track as kind of my new lead vocal track. But I don't like to work that way. I like to work in playlist view. So what I would do is do edit selection, and then I would have do nothing selected offline. It's important you do offline unless you're using outboard gear. Um, it just saves time. Insert after last selected track is also a pretty good option to have selected too. So I'll hit OK. Mic check 1 2 1 2. All right, just wanted to double check, see my mic's working. Back to Pro Tools, please. All right. So as you can see, it basically created a print of this specific track right here. And then all I would really do is just right click on this and then move to new playlist. And then I would copy that up. And now that is my lead vocal. And if I ever need to go back to the original, just open up my playlist here. And you'll see here is the original file that I can just copy and put it right up there. Now, what's interesting is with my settings, I have it set up to automatically move overlapped audio files to new playlists. So you'll see what happened there is when I copied this up, it moved the original one back down. Now, in this scenario, there's nothing different because I'm just showcasing kind of my workflow and how I go about, doing these tracks. But you get the point. I save the original and print all of my auto-tune and things like that into the file to save on CPU. And one of the biggest things with auto-tune that I hate is not everyone has the same version of auto-tune. There are people that work on old versions of auto-tune and just never updated to a new version of auto-tune. I was one of those people for a really long time. I just happened to get the newest version just because basically my computer updated and my old version of AutoTune no longer worked with that old operating system. Or the new operating system. So I had to upgrade, and it was like $100, and I got a year subscription of their AutoTune stuff. I only really used AutoTune, but I did try a couple of the effects. They're pretty good. I like them. So anywho, I got off topic there. I print my effects, and that's kind of my process on how I do it. I'll go ahead and delete this committed track that I made because I actually don't need it. I was just demonstrating. We'll delete. All right, sweet. So my computer's moving really slow on me. I'm trying to zoom in and out, and it's just not doing it. Okay, so I got all my lead vocals routed to this lead vocal bus right here, and I got a couple things going on. First is I have the stock EQ, which is just kind of doing some balance and changing the tone of the vocal a little bit, making it a little bit brighter. So I'll play the first verse without the EQ, and then I'll add it on kind of halfway through.
You keep telling me that you wanna try my love, but I get active, babe. I can make your body praise me. You wanna give it to me like I wanna give it to you in an exotic way. I just wanna feed you, baby.
What I'll do is I'll solo the vocal, it'll make it just easier to really kind of distinguish and hear what's going on here. So I'll play it from the beginning of the verse again.
You keep telling me that you wanna try my love, but I get active, babe. I can make your body praise me. You wanna give it to me like I wanna give it to you in an exotic way. I just wanna feed you, baby.
So just kind of brightening it up a little bit. And then the next thing I have on here is um this is a BF2A, and this is a stock plugin, and it's, I would assume, emulating a LA2A. Anytime I see 2A or 3A, I know it's emulating the LA and 3A compressors, or the 2A and the 3A compressors. If you want to know some history about that, the LA2A compressors have a slow attack and kind of a slow, I guess I'll say like a medium release, kind of a medium attack also. Not really slow, but slower than most compressors. And it gives a really smooth kind of character to bass, vocals. It's really good on a lot of things, but it's one of those uh, like less is more. Like you kind of want to use this where it only kind of does like 2 or 3 dB of reduction. I usually probably only do it about like 1 dB of reduction, just because I don't like to use a lot of compression. So this is a stock compressor plugin that's just doing just a little bit of compression on here.
You wanna try my love?
And it's probably not even really doing it until it gets to the end when there's a little bit more going on. It might only even do it in like 1 or 2 parts.
Oh. Come on, take your shirt off, take it on off. Let me slide on panties to the side tonight. I just don't wanna see your body. Tell me what you wanna do, baby. Show me what to do. Come on, take your shirt off.
So you see right there, it's just kind of touching it a little bit, kind of rounding it off, smoothing it. And that's kind of how I like to use my compression on my lead vocal. I like to use automation and gain staging to really make that lead vocal just be where I want it. I don't want the compressor to decide ultimately where my lead vocal should sit. So I kind of do very, very, very light compression. I followed this with a stock Fairchild 660 plugin, which this is kind of a little bit of a dumbed down version of the Fairchild. It only has input, threshold, and time constant, which basically is your attack and your release all combined into one. There's a plugin from Universal Audio, a Fairchild 660 emulation plugin that I love. It's got side chaining filters. You can link the left and right channels or unlink them. You have input gain. You can increase your headroom so you can drive that input, get more saturation from those tubes and stuff. So I like that plugin better than this one, but I like the mojo that Fairchild kind of adds to vocals. It's kind of a smooth kind of compressor also. So I'll play a section of these vocals so you can hear how that sounds and kind of see what it's doing.
You keep telling me all these niggas be on that capping shit. All you really need, big dick energy. I think I can provide it. Baby, won't you come try it? I can make you feel high, babe. High out your fucking mind. I wanna lick on your nipples, I just wanna grip them, kiss them, put them in my face, you know I like titties. I can play with them as long as you with it. Take that shit off, feeling that booty, baby, you're so soft. I'm tasting your body like you got.
So the biggest thing that this plugin kind of does is just increases the volume. It gives a little bit more body. I don't know really kind of what it's doing. If I got the input gain turned up too loud or what, but that's all it's really doing. It's just kind of adding more, loudness.
When we fuck around, but you do it just how I like it. Come on, take your shirt off, take it on off. Let me slide on panties to the side tonight. I just don't wanna see your body. Tell me what you want.
So just kind of adding some body and weight to it. It's really not doing much compression. Next thing I got going on, this is a stock plugin called Saturation Filter. I have it set to overdrive, and then I have this set to, I don't know, I think that says like 3 dB. My eyes kind of suck, and it's kind of early for me. Resonance, I got at 1.5. So these are my settings. You can check them out. And this is basically just like saturation. It's just adding just harmonics. I'll go to the lead vocal over here so you can hear how that sounds. I like that take better. So here is bypass.
You keep telling me that you wanna try my love, but I get active, babe. I can make your body praise me.
And now here's with.
You keep telling me that you wanna try my love, but I get active, babe. I can make your body praise me. You wanna give it to me like I wanna give it to you in an exotic way. I just wanna feel.
So I basically was adjusting the drive right there, and I just maxed it out so it got distorted and really crunchy, so you could really hear that overdrive module working. And then I just pulled it back until it kind of just felt like it was doing just enough to give some presence to that vocal. There are other plugins that I like to use. This one just happened to get the job done. And then I followed that with another EQ. Now, if you're wondering why I put an EQ at the beginning of my chain and also at the end of my chain, it's because ultimately the beginning of my chain, I was just getting the tone that I wanted, removing kind of any of the unnecessary lows that I didn't want, kind of bringing down some of this. I assume this is like around 120, yeah, like 120 hertz. Kind of that presence and that fundamental frequency of that vocal, and then just adding some air by just really boosting everything at the 20K here. And then as I go through my processing, it alters kind of the tone a little bit. So check this. I'll mute this EQ, and then here's the lead vocal just with the EQ on.
You keep telling me that you wanna try my love, but I get active, babe.
And now here is with all of my compression and my saturation.
You keep telling me that you wanna try my love, but I get active, babe.
So now all of a sudden the vocal kind of sounds boxy and really kind of warm and fuzzy and in your face. But it doesn't sound bright and clear anymore. So some of the clarity was taken away by adding some of that compression, which typically happens with compression. Very often, if you overcompress your vocals, you'll get these really kind of dark, muddy kind of sounding vocals. So you have to add EQ after compression also to kind of compensate for that. Big debates on whether you EQ pre or post compression. And it's about understanding really kind of how EQs work, really, in my opinion, knowing that they use phase to cancel out frequencies and that they boost. When you cut a frequency, it basically boosts the frequencies around it, kind of as a psychoacoustic effect. Um, Unless you're using linear phase EQs, but then you're running into kind of some CPU and delay compensation issues. So I just like to use the stock EQ. And then this move right here is just, again, adding this clarity, kind of removing some of the low end mud that got introduced from the saturation, and then kind of lowering everything kind of in this low end area just because it was kind of muddy. So again, here is before this last EQ.
You keep telling me that you wanna try my love,
And now here is with.
you keep telling me that you wanna try my love.
So it just brings that airiness into the vocal, makes it feel more clear, adds more clarity. I got a guy that I work with that he's always like, more treble, more treble, more treble. And whenever he says that, I know he just wants more high end. It doesn't matter what frequency I pick. He just wants it to be brighter and, higher. Or he'll say less bass or more mids. He works off kind of like a DJ kind of concept, where it's just bass, mids, and treble. Just those frequencies are all he's really interested in. So that's the lead vocal. I have vocal effects on here. that I will talk about a little bit later. Well, actually, I'll talk about them now because when I'm working on a mix and working on a song, I really like to get the reverb set when I'm working on the lead vocal. Just it helps me just feel the energy of the song and just know kind of where things kind of are going in the overall grand scheme of the mix. So what I want to do is mute all these background vocals because if I don't, you're going to hear all of the reverb kind of going around, and you're not going to hear the actual reverb for just the lead vocal. So, actually, never mind. We got it soloed out, so that would have actually worked. It doesn't matter. So now I'm going to talk about some of these effects that I got on here. So I have a lead vocal verb send bus, and that's kind of an interesting one. This is something that I've started doing really recently, where I basically, instead of just busing my tracks directly to my reverb or directly to my delay, I create another track in between the source track and the effect track. So basically, this track right here is sending audio to this track right here. You'll see it says lead vocal verb send right there. So it's sending this signal to this auxiliary. And then on this auxiliary, I have a trim plugin, which is basically just turning the volume of the send down. I do that so that I can get a little bit more range with my volume fader. A lot of times I find I am moving this fader like all the way down to like the bottom of the fader, and it's still just kind of not sitting right in the pocket where I want it. And so by adding that trim plugin, it gives me more ability to kind of dial in the exact volume I'm looking for. And then that is being fed to, or that track is then sending to a effect chain that I have up here. Now, what I typically do with my vocals is, instead of like creating a separate send for my room reverb, creating a separate send for my plate, my cathedral, my arena, I basically just create a vocal verb bus. And that way I know like all my vocals go to this reverb. And then I kind of, when I'm doing my vocal reverbs, I a lot of times use multiple reverbs. I'll use a room, a hall, and a plate kind of all together, and I'll do them in kind of a certain way to try to make it seem where they're all cohesively one reverb, but they're all separate at the same time. So for example, the room often is kind of just very short reflection, so it's almost kind of like a slap back delay. So it just kind of puts the vocal into a space, essentially. So it will put it kind of either in a bedroom or kind of in a an office space or your car. I can make it sound really boxy and really tight. And then I'll use a hall to kind of add that depth and that width to the vocal and make it sound big and kind of in like this big kind of arena type space. And then I'll use a plate just to kind of add shimmer and brightness, because plates have this very metallic sound, especially on like the high end of vocals. On like the sibilants, you'll really hear like the almost like the metallicness of the plate is like what I kind of like to call it. And I'll just kind of use that just to kind of just hear just a little bit more of like the sibilants. I'll also kind of consider automating my reverb. So in the verses, I might have less of the hall reverb, so it sounds more close and in your face. And then when the chorus comes in, I might turn that hall chorus or that hall reverb up to make it sound bigger and more chorusy, for lack of a better term. So just to recap what's going on here, on my lead vocal track, this green track right here, I have created a send, and I have renamed that send lead vocal verb send. And it is sending to this auxiliary track right here. This auxiliary track has a trim plugin on there just to decrease the volume and give me more control over the volume of my send going to my vocal verb effect chain, which is these green tracks right here, this one, and this one all together. So I will now play this lead vocal and introduce some of this reverb so that you can hear kind of what these reverb modules are doing. Let's go ahead and solo out our vocal effects here and play just the, we're playing just the medium room, which is the stock plugin studio reverb, and here are the settings for that. So here's the first verse with just the room reverb on it.
You keep telling me that you wanna try my love, but I get active, babe. I can make your body praise me. You wanna give it to me like I wanna give it to you in an exotic way. I just wanna feed you, baby. Let me feel your body up. Let me feel your body up. Come and take your shirt off.
So really, can't even really hear it. It's not even that audible. And that's kind of how I wanted the room reverb to be. Now, if I boost this up so you can really hear it, then you'll actually hear what this room sounds like. And then I'll bring it back so you can kind of get an idea of kind of how I mix my reverbs in.
You keep telling me that you wanna try my love, but I get active, babe. I can make your body praise me.
So you can hear now that is the room that I put it in, and it sounds kind of sounds like a hall, more than a room, but it's because I have this decay set on 5 seconds. If I bring this down, it would make it a lot shorter. So let's hear how that would sound if I bring it down a little bit.
You keep telling me that you wanna try my love, but I get active, babe.
So it brings it down to where it's not as reverberant, but I like 5 seconds. This song is kind of this, it just felt like it had to have a large reverb on there, just because when R&B you're talking about kind of sexual things, adding a lot of reverb to it kind of helps make that emotion feel more correct for the song. So these are the settings that I had, and then I will turn it down until I get to a setting that I like.
You keep telling me that you wanna try my love, but I get active, babe. I can make your body praise me.
So now here is without any reverb.
You keep telling me that you wanna try my love, but I get active, babe.
And now here's with reverb.
You keep telling me that you wanna try my love, but I get active, babe.
So really where I hear the room is when he stops singing. I hear this kind of like extra little ring out kind of on the notes. And I like that. I like the way it sounds. My next reverb plugin that I have in here is going to be a medium plate. And so here are the settings for that. Here, I'll close. I forget, it doesn't let me do this. I'll just put it over on the top of it so you don't get them confused. So here are my settings for my medium plate. Got a decay of 2.8 seconds. Pre-delay is set to 0. Mix is at 100, or in this case 10. 10 basically means 100%. Then it's the medium plate. So yeah, let's check out and hear how that sounds now.
You keep telling me that you wanna try my love, but I get active, babe.
So that one definitely has more of a just kind of a shorter kind of slap back kind of feel to it. It's got 2 seconds on there, but it's also got a little bit more of a brightness. Listen to how it kind of extends the brightness of like certain notes.
You keep telling me that you wanna try my love, but I get active.
Like that, listen to when he says that, and then you hear how that reverb just kind of like, kind of splashes it out a little.
You keep telling me that you wanna try my love, but I get active.
You hear that, and then there's kind of that little bit of a delay, and then boom, you hear it kind of like slap, and it's got this metallic-y kind of sound. Um, that's what I love on lead vocals. It really kind of sounds tight, sounds good. And I got a couple other things going on here that I'll talk about. There's an EQ, and it's rolling off any of the low end that I don't want and any of the top end, so I'll do a before and after.
You keep telling me that you wanna try my love, but I get active, babe.
And now here's after.
You keep telling me that you wanna try my love, but I get active, babe.
So just controlling any of that high end or that sibilance that might be slipping in there. And then the last thing I got on here is a compressor, which I might talk about here. So what I have is a side chain going on here. So on my lead vocal bus, I have a send. And this send is in pre-fader metering. So that means that no matter what I change this volume fader to, this one will be sending the exact same amount to wherever I want it to go. And in this case, I basically don't have it going anywhere. I just created this track so that I could create a send bus. And this signal is not going anywhere. You don't hear it. It doesn't change anything. But what I can do is route it to plugins. And one of the plugins I like to route it to is a compressor plugin. So let me kind of wrap your head around this so you can understand it. Got this lead vocal right here feeding into this lead vocal bus with all of my processing, EQ, compression, saturation, and more EQ. And then that is being sent pre-fader metering via this send right here. And then on my compressor plugin that is located on my medium plate reverb right here, I go to this key right here, this key input, and I'll go to my bus and select my lead vocal sidechain. So anytime I create a sidechain, I put SC. SC for me just stands for sidechain. So anytime I see that, I know it's a sidechain from the track itself or the bus or wherever. And so I select this key as lead vocal sidechain. And now this compressor is going to compress based off the transients and the envelope of the vocals, not the reverb. So follow this. This compressor, if I just put it on this reverb, would be compressing the reverb signal. But what these parameters are now responding to is the lead vocal send. So let me see if I can tweak this here. So I have sidechain turned off, and I'm going to play the lead vocal with this reverb and the compressor on it without any sidechain happening.
You keep telling me that you wanna try my love, but I get active, babe. I can make your body praise me.
now I'm going to turn this side chain on, and now it's going to react to the vocals.
You keep telling me that you wanna try my love, but I get active, babe. I can make your body praise me. You wanna give it to me?
And all it's doing is just kind of bringing down the volume in just certain areas that are getting a little bit kind of possibly loud in volume. And I don't want that. So I'll bypass it kind of halfway through so you can hear what it's really doing.
You keep telling me that you wanna try my love, but I get active, babe. I can make your body praise me. You wanna give it to me like I wanna give it to you in an exotic way. Me like I wanna give it to you in an exotic way. Me like I wanna give it to you in an exotic way.
So listen to exotic. Listen to how when this is bypassed, that exotic, that reverb is a lot louder on exotic than some of the other parts.
Me like I wanna give it to you in an exotic way.
You heard that exotic, how it sounds like it's in that reverb. Now listen to when I add the compressor.
Me like I wanna give it to you in an exotic way.
It's not as loud, it's not as present. It's a little bit more tame because this compressor is reacting to that transient when it comes in, and so it's ducking and basically compressing that reverb a little bit to compensate for that. This is one of those things that you don't always have to use it. I used it particularly because I wanted to. One of the things with this track was my friend Picasso. He's learning. He's learning how to do all of this stuff. You know, this is all new to him. He was a singer-songwriter for years, and now he's getting into the production side of things. So I told him I would do all this with stock plugins and try to set things up to help him kind of have a template so he doesn't have to worry about, setting it up wrong. He can just kind of go off of what I have and just kind of figure it out. So I just have it on here, just doing a little bit of compression. And that's it with that reverb. And then the last reverb that I have, let's close some of these. Let's just move this over here. On the last reverb track, I have a EQ, a cathedral style reverb, all using the Studio Reverb plugins. I also have a lo-fi plugin, and I'm also doing some sidechain compression from the lead vocal. So let me go ahead and close all this stuff out to make it easier to see. And we will open this stuff back up. There we go. So to make it a little more easier to understand, the plugin on the top is going to be the first plugin, and then the second plugin down is going to be the second plugin, et cetera, et cetera. So in this order, it will go EQ, reverb, lo-fi, and then compressor. So you can kind of see kind of how it's working visually here as well. So here is that reverb.
You keep telling me that you wanna try my love, but I get active, babe. I can make your body praise me. You wanna give it to me like I wanna give it to you in an exotic way. I just wanna feed you, baby. Let me feel your body up. Let me feel your body up. Come and take your.
So that one's the biggest of them all, and is really kind of adding the most character to the vocal when you put everything together in the mix. So that vocal sounds good with that reverb on it. So one of the things here that I want to talk about, I'll kind of just touch base again on what's going on. I have this lead vocal right here, and I have a send, this one right here, going to a track called lead vocal verb send, and then that's being fed to a bus called vocal verb. Now, this vocal verb is going to 3 different reverbs. So if I'm mixing this song, let's say I have just the medium room on, and I'm trying to figure out how much of the room I want, right? So I'll press play, and you'll hear the room reverb and the lead vocal.
You keep telling me that you wanna try my love, but I get active, babe.
So it's cool, but let's say I want more of that room reverb. If I push this send up to hear more of the room reverb, for example,
You keep telling me that you wanna try my love.
I've also increased the volume going to these other 2 reverbs as well. So let's listen to how it sounds on the cathedral.
You keep telling me that you wanna try my love.
Sounds really washed out, and that sounds like it's way too much reverb. It sounds like I am listening to him in the back of like a church or something like that, and like I can't really even hear his lead vocal at all. So now let's turn down the reverb send to get it right.
You keep telling me that you wanna try my love, but I get active, babe. I can make your body praise me.
So that sounds cool, but now when we go back to my room, it's not enough of the reverb and you can't really hear the room as much.
You keep telling me that you wanna try my love, but I get active, babe.
So it's important to understand signal flow. This is what I'm trying to demonstrate here is understanding signal flow and how things operate in the order that you're, sending them around and, just signal flow. That's to summarize it. That's what we're talking about. And so if we go to my mix window, this might visually just kind of make a little bit more sense. So these lime green tracks right here, let's get them a little bit bigger. These lime green tracks right here are my reverbs. And what I'll do is to figure out kind of where I want these balanced is I first just select how much of the signal I want going to that reverb just to begin with, right? So this lead vocal right here, make this bigger. And by the way, if you have Pro Tools and you're on your mix window, if you hit Command and then click on kind of the kind of send selector option, if you have a send on there, it will give you a small little tiny fader on your mix window that you can kind of visually see kind of where you're at with things. Very helpful. And so what I'll do is just kind of send a good amount of signal to my my track, right? So here's my lead vocal.
You keep telling me that you wanna try.
And this little track right here is just indicating what this track is doing or this send is doing. And you'll see it's kind of just in the green, not like all the way up here in the red or in the yellow. It's just kind of a good solid green signal.
You keep telling me that you wanna try my love.
And that's cool. I don't really want to push it all the way to 0. What I like to do is kind of meet somewhere in the middle. So that way I have more dynamic control over everything. So I want more. Oh, hello, Bella. Sorry, I got my little dog here with me. You might hear some clicking and tapping in the background. That's just my dog walking on the hardwood floor. Um, so again, back to what I was saying. I have these lead vocal sends on my here. Let's bring this down to make it more obvious of what I'm talking about here. So I got these lead vocal sends, or the verb lead vocal reverb sends right here, and I have them kind of in the middle to get just a good signal right here in the green.
You keep telling me that you wanna try my love.
Excuse me. And then what I'm gonna do is then control how much of this reverb is going to these faders right here. And I usually do that by just selecting the one that I think is going to be the main reverb, which in this case, I'm pretty sure I made the cathedral the main reverb.
You keep telling me that you wanna.
Oh, that's another thing I'm going to talk about. So this has some automation on it. So I won't actually adjust the volume on this. I can't. If I move it down and I hit play, it'll go back to where it's supposed to be.
You keep telling me.
So if you see how that little fader, if you see how that fader moves right there,
You keep telling me.
I put automation on here. And so basically what I did was I just found the area that I wanted it to be in and then just kind of automated it and moved it around so it would be louder and softer in certain parts. And then I just dialed in the reverb on my vocal. So I got the sent a decent amount of signal to this track right here, which is my lead vocal reverb send that is being then sent to all of my reverb effects for my vocals on these tracks right here. And then I just dial in the volume on the actual reverb tracks themselves. So here's the dry vocal.
You keep telling me that you wanna try my love.
And then I'll just add some reverb in.
You keep telling me that you wanna try my love. But I get active, babe. I can make your body.
Cool, sounds good. And I mean, I might turn that up or down just depending on how it sounds in context with the instrumentals. Then I'll mute that reverb and then I'll go to the other reverb.
You keep telling me that you wanna try my love.
That's at a good volume. And then back to this room reverb that we were kind of having a difficult time of hearing, I might boost that up to hear more of it now.
You keep telling me that you wanna try my love. But I get active, babe. I can make your body.
So now I hear the room reverb much more clearly than I did before. But now it's about how they all kind of work together. So what I'll do is start with like the room and then I'll add the plate in there and see kind of how they, work with each other.
You keep telling me that you wanna try my love. But I get active, babe. I can make your body.
So it sounds cool. It sounds more like a bigger room. It's giving more of just a space. And then we'll add the cathedral and see how they all kind of blend together.
You keep telling me that you wanna try my love. But I get active, babe. I can make your body praise me.
Okay, cool. I like it. Now, the big test here is going to be hearing it in context with the music and hearing how it sounds with everything. So now we'll go back to my edit window and we'll play this verse and just hear it with the music and see how it sounds in context.
You keep telling me that you wanna try my love. But I get active, babe. I can make your body praise me. You wanna give it to me like I wanna give it to you in exotic ways. I just wanna feed you, baby. Let me feel your body, yo. Let me feel your body, yo. Come in.
Okay, so cool. I might use a little bit more of it. But in this case, it kind of fits. It sounds good. Now, that's how I go about kind of getting the blend of my reverb. And then it's kind of like a set it and forget it at that point. Like I really don't ever kind of change the volume of these faders. It's more I have to adjust the sends of individual tracks or adjust the reverb send going to it. Now, here's one of the reasons why I like to use reverb sends um or creating a reverb send track instead of just creating sends directly to reverb. So now that I have all of these tracks with um, the reverb that I want on it, let's say I want to add automation. Well, it gets kind of tricky when you have to do automation on. I mean, with the lead vocal right here, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, like 7 tracks just for the lead vocal. And I mean, the background vocals are going to be a lot more tracks. So imagine when I start having to automate 12, 14, 15 tracks of reverb sends, right? It kind of becomes a pain in the ass at that point. Um, so funneling all of your sends into one track gives you the ability to then control your volume of your reverb for all of your lead vocals at once versus having to do it on each individual send. So what I'm basically trying to say here is, let's say I wanted to do automation for the lead vocals. I would have to go in and automate all of these little lines individually on the tracks that I want them um, to get the right reverb sound that I want. Now, nothing wrong with doing that, you know. Um, I've even done it on a couple tracks. I'm not saying that's the wrong way to do it. It's just a lot more time. It takes a lot longer. Um, so got our lead vocal bus send right here that we can just go to the volume and look, we just have to automate just this one line to really control how our reverb sounds. So let's check out how our reverb sounds. We're going to solo out our vocals. Let's check out how this reverb sounds when I kind of have it ducked down over here.
Teach me how to do it right. Yeah, 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 yeah. Come on, take your shirt off tonight.
So if you could hear right there, I had the reverb go down on pretty much all the lead vocals at once, instead of having to go in and do the individual tracks. And so that is one of the reasons that I also started recently creating these separate reverb send tracks to have a little bit more control and just kind of funneling things into tracks to make it simpler for me to work. And so that's the lead vocal reverb send. And then for the delay, I have it on the lead vocal, like directly on the bus as opposed to being on the tracks. So I put the reverb on the tracks because I wanted to get ahead of any delay compensation that might be happening. On the vocal delay, it was a completely different story because, I mean, essentially the vocal delay is delay. It's supposed to be after the lead vocal has been spoken or whatever. So on there, I got these bad boys. I got a mod delay. Here, I'll mute the reverb so you can hear just the delay. And these days, I don't use delay like this like how I used to. I used to really focus on having like a reverb and delay blend to kind of create this sound. But nowadays I'll do like delay throws as opposed to just having a static delay on the lead vocal constantly. But in this case, I wanted to add a little bit of a kind of a slap back. So here's how the delay sounds on the lead vocal.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Come on, take your shirt off tonight. Yeah, 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 yeah.
So it's just adding that echo effect to make the vocals feel really just big and powerful, especially in kind of those chorusy parts. I'll play you an example of what I'm talking about right here. So let's get to this part. By the way, I apologize for the language. I did not clean up this session in advance. I was just kind of just going through it.
No, I like titties. I can play with them as long as you with it. Take that shit off. Feeling that booty, baby, you're so soft. I'm tasting your body like you got the sauce. When we fuck around, but you do it just how I like it. Come on, take your shirt off. Take it on off. Let me slide on panties to the side.
So I got an effect on there, so that's why that ducks down. Let's play it right around. Let's play it in the verse. It'll probably sound a little bit more clear there.
You keep telling me that you wanna try my love, but I get active, babe. I can make your body praise me.
Here I was just kind of just like creating those little throws kind of at the end, and I turned it up so you could really hear it, but you know, I kind of have it really turned down in the mix, so it's more just kind of like a ghostly kind of in the background type of thing. And here's the delay that I'm using. It's a stock plugin. I have it set to link, so both the left and the right are identical. It makes it set at 100% because it's on the send. It's doing quarter notes, 53% feedback, and then I have lo-fi on here, adding a little bit of distortion. And then I have an EQ, which is rolling off the lows, rolling off the highs, kind of doing a dip right here at around 2.7 kilohertz to kind of get rid of some of that presence. But then I'm boosting the highs, everything above 3 kilohertz at about 5-6 dB to make it brighter and a little bit more kind of echoey, and that this EQ is doing a lot. Like this EQ is doing a lot. So check it out without this EQ, and you'll hear what it sounds like.
You keep telling me that you wanna try my love, but I get active, babe. I can make your body praise me.
So it really sounds too artificial there. It sounds like an artificial echo, which was not what I was going for. I wanted it to be more in the background, ghostly, and so I put an EQ on here, and this is how it came out.
You keep telling me that you wanna try my love, but I get active, babe. I can make your body praise me.
So you hear he's saying like, you know, body and babe, and like you hear it, but it sounds just muffled and kind of just in the back a little bit more. Not as just echoey, like echo, 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 you know. And then similar to the reverbs, I have a sidechain situation going on here where the lead vocal is ducking and compressing the delay, which is doing kind of a lot too. So here's with that.
You keep telling me that you wanna try my love, but I get active, babe. I can make your body praise me.
And now here's with.
You keep telling me that you wanna try my love, but I get active, babe.
So it's just kind of moving with the groove of the song, and it's compressing it to where it's not overlapping with the lead vocal. It helps the listener really hear the lead vocal and just kind of pushes it out the way just temporarily. And then it's about just blending, getting it to where it sounds good. Typically with this delay, I find more often than not, I will solo the vocal and blend it that way. And then wherever it is, that's kind of where I leave it. Kind of like a headphone thing, really. Like in the headphones, you really hear delays a lot more than you do on loudspeakers, at least my loudspeakers. I don't know how other people's studios sound, but the delays, for whatever reason, I like to have those down lower versus like more loud. So we're going to play it.
You keep telling me that you wanna try my love, but I get active, babe. I can make your body praise me. You wanna give it to me like I wanna give it to you in an exotic way.
So once I kind of have it to where I think I like it, I mute it and then unmute it, and then I listen to how dramatic of a change it makes. If it's like oh wow, like I totally hear it, like when it's like in there, I kind of turn it down a little bit more. I wanted it to be very subtle. It should be just like when it's in there, it just adds that little extra bit of whisperiness kind of at the end of the phrases, and it's not just crowding anything. So here is without it.
You keep telling me that you wanna try my love.
And now here's with it.
You keep telling me that you wanna try my love.
So it's just that extra little kind of whisperiness kind of at the end of the phrases is not anything that's really meant to be super audible. Next up, we'll kind of see how it all blends together with the reverbs. And then what I typically do is send that little delay that I just made into my reverb, so that way everything just feels like it's one cohesive kind of effect.
You keep telling me that you wanna try my love, but I get active, babe. I can make your body praise me. You wanna give it to me like I wanna give.
So it sounds very airy and just kind of like a fantasy almost, kind of just makes you feel very kind of wavy and like you're in a dreamy kind of state of mind. And that's kind of what I'm going for with this being kind of like a sexual kind of song. I want it to feel very kind of dreamy and wavy, and you would just want to get lost in kind of that wave and that movement. So sounds cool. I like it. Let's hear it in context with the instrumental.
You keep telling me that you wanna try my love, but I get active, babe. I can make your body praise me. You wanna give it to me like I wanna give it to you in an exotic way. I just wanna feed you, baby. Let me feel your body, yo. Let me feel your body, yo. Come and take your shirt off. Come on, let me take your shirt off. What you wanna now? I just wanna see your body.
So just kind of moving some things around a little bit. It felt a little bit too wet, a little bit too much reverb on there, but mainly that cathedral is just such a big reverb. I could hear the delays a little bit too much. There were parts in there where it felt like I could definitely hear just words being repetitive, like a delay. So I turned the delay down just a little bit, and I think it sounds good. So let's hear how it sounds now.
You keep telling me that you wanna try my love, but I get active, babe. I can make your body praise me. You wanna give it to me like I wanna give it to you in an exotic way. I just wanna feed you, baby. Let me feel your body, yo. Let me feel your body, yo. Come and take your shirt off. Come on, let me take your shirt off. shirt off. What you want tonight?
Beautiful. Yeah, it's cool. It's tight. It's hitting where I want it, and that's kind of my approach to the lead vocal. There are a couple things in here. Yeah, there's that delay throw in there. So I'll talk about that. Looks like that's the only one. Yeah, it's like the only one that has a delay throw. Let's see. Is it even doing anything? Give me 1 second. This might take just a little bit of time. Let's see. Delay throw. Let's bring this bad boy up. Yeah, so it looks like it is doing something on here. Let's see what happens.
When we fuck around, but you do it just how I like it.
Wasn't expecting to see that. So, yeah, if you can hear this track right here, it's got some stuff going on here. Check it out.
Yeah.
That's just the girl, and then when I add I have a delay on here that is a 1/4 inch ping pong delay. Has some modulation on here so that it kind of fades out. And then I have the dry wet set to 42%, which you would expect a send to be wet 100%, but this really kind of gave me the sound and the tone I was looking for. And the feedback is pretty high actually on this plugin. It says 74, and specifically on this H delay. By the way, this isn't a stock plugin. I really like this delay plugin for delay throws. It just has all the stuff that I want built right in, very fast and simple to get the sound that I'm looking for with delay throws on here. CPU friendly, really good plugin. And following that, I have a orange phaser, which is not a stock plugin either, and it's set at a 46% mix. So check out how this sounds. So it's got a really huge just echo, and then when I play that with everything else,
No, I like it. I can play with them as long as you with it. Take that shit off, feeling that booty, baby, you're so soft. I'm tasting your body like you got the sauce. When we fuck around, but you do it just how I like it. Come on, take your shirt off, take it on off. Let me slide on panties to the side tonight.
so it's kind of adding this kind of just waviness, kind of this going back and forth kind of sound. And it doesn't sound like a delay. It sounds almost like an instrument, you know. It's just kind of being used to add some cool little effect in there. And I think that covers everything in the lead vocals. Let me see what else we got going on here. There's a doubler that I don't even think that's doing anything at any point in time. It's probably being sent. It's just not being used. No, it's not even really doing anything at any point. So I think what I might do is disable that track. No, there's definitely stuff going on here. So let's see. So on the lead vocals, Picasso requested that I add an effect to the end just to kind of make it feel different. And so you'll see what happens here is I have a send on each one of these lead vocals called doubler. And when doubler kicks in right here in this section, I have a couple things going on. On the lead vocal, I have some volume automation going on that you can see right here to compensate for the volume increase that I get from adding this doubler right here. So what's interesting on this is I have the sends automated and I also have the doubler automated as well. So I'll demonstrate what I would probably do in this scenario to try to get more CPU out of this session. So I'll show you what this doubler is doing first off. So here is a lead vocal kind of in the last little chorus section here.
I like it. Come on, take your shirt off, take it on off. Let me slide on it to the side tonight.
Which I'm noticing there are some.
I like it. Come on, take your shirt off, take it on off. Let me slide on it to the side tonight. I just don't wanna see your body. Tell me what you wanna do, baby. Show me what to do. Come on, take your shirt off, take it on off. Let's get indecent, baby. Damn, you know you're fine. Oh, oh, teach me how to do it right. Yeah, yeah.
So that's not quite correct here. Hold on. Because I don't feel like I ended up using the doubler. So let's. Okay, I remember now. Okay. So let me break this down into what I really should have been saying here. So I have all these lead vocals being sent to a bus, and then that bus is sending everything to this doubler. Now I decided that I basically decided that I wasn't going to use that doubler effect because it just didn't give me the sound I was looking for. Make active. I'll kind of show you what I was talking about. So now this makes more sense on what I had, because I didn't understand why I would have automation on kind of two areas here. Just kind of thinking out loud, but what really was happening in this session is on the lead vocal, I have a doubler, and the doubler is basically sending a static signal at unity gain based off of whatever this lead vocal is doing with its volume, etc., etc. There is no automation on the doubler. So it's just sending a static signal, and then I just brought in the doubler on this section to give it more kind of fullness, more life. So I'll show you kind of what that sounds like, but I think I decided not to do it.
Feeling that booty, baby, you're so soft. I'm tasting your body like you got the sauce. When we fuck around, but you do it just how I like it. Come on, take your shirt off, take it on off. Let me slide on it to the side tonight.
Yeah, because what's really supposed to be happening right here, the doubler is cool and all, but I opted not to do that. And what really is going on is am I missing something here? What's going on? Let's see. Oh, no, I'm not. It's just on the individual tracks. So what's really going on here is on here, on the sends, we have a chorus effect that is on pretty much everything. It's supposed to be static, but for whatever reason, it didn't get placed on this one. I guess I decided to turn it down on that part for whatever reason, so that's fine. Smooth that out, just make it a little bit easier for me. So I got the chorus effect send, which is this track right here. So you'll see what happens is when it gets to this point, this send will kick in.
Grip 'em, kiss 'em, put 'em in my face, you know I like titties. I can play with 'em as long.
So you saw how that fader moved right here. It's because it's following this automation on this. And that's probably because I didn't want to have the, so I didn't want to have the effect. Oh man, come on. You're killing me. I didn't want to have the effect on the lead vocal in the verse, right? Like I just didn't want to have that effect right there. I only wanted it in certain places. And now in hindsight that I'm kind of looking at it, what actually would make more sense is to do chorusing effects in certain places. So let's see. I think I even tried to do that right here. Let's see.
You keep telling me that you wanna try my love, but I get active, babe. I can make your body praise me. You wanna give it to me like I wanna give it to you in an exotic way.
So it looks like there's something going on there, but it's not actually doing anything. Where it really kicks in is right here. So right here in this section of the song, all the effects are turned up. You can see that this will kick in right here. And then you'll hear there's kind of a chorus flanger effect going on right here.
Grip 'em, kiss 'em, put 'em in my face, you know I like titties. I can play with 'em as long as you with it. Take that shit off, feeling that booty, baby, you're so soft. I'm tasting your body like you got the sauce. When we fuck around, but you do it just how I like it. Come on, take your shirt off, take it on off. Let me slide on it to the side tonight. I just wanna see your body. Tell me what you wanna do, baby, show me what to do. Come on, take your shirt off, take it on off. Let's get indecent, baby, damn, you know you're fine. Teach me how to do it right.
So that kind of chorus effect that you hear right there is this right here. And that's in the section where the volume drops. Every time that I'm trying to do the demonstration in this area, you'll hear it.
When we fuck around, but you do it just how I like it. Come on, take your shirt off, take it on off. Let me slide on it to the side tonight. I just do.
So you hear how the lead vocal almost feels like it gets like just lost in the back. Well, that little volume adjustment right there is because when I add this chorus effect in, the volume got increased, and so I had to turn down the lead vocal to make room for that chorus effect.
When we fuck around, but you do it just how I like it. Come on, take your shirt off, take it on off. Let me slide on it to the side tonight. I just wanna see your body. Tell me what you want.
And that effect is actually a couple things going on. It's the flanger, the air flanger. These are the settings that I selected for that. I'm not going to go through those individually. I put an EQ on there, roll off the lows and the highs, and then I put my H delay on there to kind of add that space. And then I have a compressor on here just to kind of level everything out and just smooth it out.
When we fuck around, but you do it just how I like it. Come on, take your shirt off, take it on off. Let me slide on it to the side tonight. I just wanna see your body. Tell me what you wanna do, baby, show me what to do. Come on, take.
So just taming those transients, making sure nothing gets too loud. I want the lead vocal to still kind of feel like it's the lead vocal. That's just supposed to be an effect. So that is the lead vocals. I will play from the beginning of the verse here, just so we can kind of get I'll play from the beginning of the song, just so you can get an idea of kind of a before and after. So we'll do. It'll probably make more sense if I do it that way, but it won't. Okay, so I'll try to do this as quickly as possible. So I will first play the original lead vocal with no plugins and no reverb with the beat. So here's the raw original lead vocal starting at the very top of the song.
You keep telling me that you wanna try my love, but I get active bad. I can make your body praise me. You wanna give it to me like I wanna give it to you in an exotic way. I just wanna feed you, baby. Let me feel your body, yo. Let me feel your body, yo.
So that is the lead vocal with no plugins, and now I'm going to add the plugins back in. And now here's with just plugins, no reverb, no delay.
You keep telling me that you wanna try my love, but I get active bad. I can make your body praise me. You wanna give it to me like I wanna give it to you in an exotic way. I just wanna feed you, baby. Let me feel your body, yo. Let me feel your body, yo. Come and take your shirt off. Come on, let me take your shirt off. What you want tonight? I just wanna see.
So now we'll add the reverb and everything.
You keep telling me that you wanna try my love, but I get active bad. I can make your body praise me. You wanna give it to me like I wanna give it to you in an exotic way. I just wanna feed you, baby. Let me feel your body, yo. Let me feel your body, yo. Come and take your shirt off. Come on, let me take your shirt off. What you want tonight? I just wanna see your body. Do what you wanna do tonight. Come and take your shirt off. Baby, let me take them clothes off. Let's get indecent tonight.
So cool. That's kind of how I go about just kind of starting with my lead vocal, getting everything right. I'll play it a little bit further down the line just so you can hear how that effect kind of sounds in this area.
I'm tasting your body like you got the sauce. When we fuck around, but you do it just how I like it. Come on, take your shirt off. Take it on off. Let me slide on panties to the side tonight. I just wanna see your body. Tell me what you want to do, baby. Show me what to do. Come on, take your shirt off. Take it on off. Let's get indecent, baby. Damn, you know you're fine. Oh, teach me how to do it right. Yeah, 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 yeah. Come on, take your shirt off tonight. I just wanna see what's on your mind. Let me take your shirt off. Let me take my shirt off.
So I'm already noticing there's some volume kind of just things that need to be adjusted in there. But when I add the background vocals, it probably won't even make a difference. Um, so that's how I go about my lead vocals. Now my background vocals, totally different story. Let's go ahead and say that the lead vocals are done. I will do a resizing of all of my audio tracks within that section, so that way I kind of just know that they're done. I don't really need to see them. I know that they're there. I know I can adjust them with the volume faders. They don't need to be edited or changed or altered anymore. I will make them bigger when I do volume automation stuff though. So then let's go to the background vocals. Now, without me getting into a lot of details of it, there was a set of background vocals that I just decided would be best if they just weren't used, and that was the Hallelujah section. I don't need to play it or go through it. I decided it was best if that part just wasn't part of it. Now, background vocals, I'm kind of weird. You know, I get a lot of artists and producers that come to me and they're like, hey, you know, like, let me just add some back. Well, they'll come into the studio and they'll have layers on layers of background vocals. And I mean, I'm not exactly I'm not great at background vocals. I'm not a singer, but I just know when something just doesn't sound right. And certain times I get background vocals where they're like, you know, just off key, or they just don't feel right. They don't feel like they fit. They don't give that presence or that body. You know, I've gotten background vocals that I'm like, wow, adding those background vocals underneath the lead vocal makes it so big and powerful, and like the harmonies are all there and they sound great. In fact, there's one song I'm working on right now where it's similar to that. There's so many harmonies, but when you add them all together, you can actually hear, you know, how much of a difference they all individually make. This session, similar, but it had some areas that I wasn't quite fond of, I guess I should say. I just didn't like the particular keys or harmonies or whatever. So I'll start with the lead verse. And I did my typical auto-tune kind of de-essing thing on everything. I wanted to print the auto-tune in there so that I wouldn't have to worry about losing it. And then I got a lot of stuff going on my background vocal bus. But first, I'll just kind of just play these background vocals so you can hear what they sound like.
You keep telling me that you wanna try my love, but I get active, babe. Drop that wood off and I can make your body praise me.
Now, at this point, what I would probably be doing is checking meters. So I'll go back up here, check out my limiter, see what we're at. All right, cool. Nothing looks just crazy or out of the ordinary or peaking really heavy right there. I'll check it later. I always like to check my limiter just to make sure that nothing somehow in the process of me muting and unmuting things, there's like too much signal going to the limiter causing it to compress. It's easy to make a mistake sometimes when you're doing a bunch of side chaining and routing. I can make mistakes for sure. So here's the background vocals.
Drop that wood off in that body. Hallelujah. Me, you an exotic way. Fish, babe. Body up, body up.
So those are really tight. I like them. then to kind of show you what I got going on here, I got a BF2A.
You keep telling me, try.
And it's not going to probably be doing anything on those parts. I'm going to be honest, when it gets to these other background vocals, it'll be doing a lot more. So I got two stacked BF2As, one doing one thing, one kind of doing the other.
Wood off in that body. Hallelujah. Me.
Excuse me. I have some saturation going on here, or in this case, there's really nothing even going on. I think I put it on here. Oh no, there is something going on. It's 0.6. I just couldn't see it. Yeah, 0.6 of distortion. Here's before.
Wood off in that body. Hallelujah.
And here's after.
Wood off in that body. Hallelujah.
I mean, I don't know. It's adding a little something, I guess. Then I got an EQ on here, and the EQ's doing a lot of stuff. I typically do a side chaining situation with EQ and background vocals, but because I was trying to create a template essentially of just stock plugins, I use the stock EQ. Oh, excuse me. Now, typically with background vocals, I don't necessarily have to do a lot of EQing. I might initially do a pre-EQ before compression to shape them, but I didn't on these. In this scenario, I wanted to make sure they didn't conflict with the lead vocal, so I kind of ducked some frequencies kind of around like 200 hertz and something around like 1K. Took out a lot of that top end right here, but then kind of boosted it up a little bit, and then just really reduced a lot of the low end completely out of the equation. So let's hear in context what it sounds like with the lead vocal. So I'm going to play the verse, and I'm going to bypass this EQ. And then here, I'll play it from like right, and yeah, that's good. So I have the EQ bypassed, and then I will play it with the EQ on.
You keep telling me, try.
Oops. Let's get the lead vocal playing. There we go.
You keep telling me that you wanna try my love, but I get active, babe. Drop that wood off in that. I can make your body praise me. Hallelujah. You wanna give it to me like I wanna give it to you in an exotic way.
Now I'll play it with the EQ on.
You keep telling me that you wanna try my love, but I get active, babe. Drop that wood off in that. I can make your body praise me. Hallelujah. You wanna give it to me like I wanna give it to you in an exotic way.
So listen to that part specifically right there. Here's with no EQ.
You wanna give it to me like I wanna give it to you in an exotic way.
Specifically the exotic ways, it feels like the way, like that part like really just overlaps the lead vocal. Listen with the EQ.
You wanna give it to me like I wanna give it to you in an exotic way.
Now it's a little bit more controlled, a little bit more in the background. It doesn't feel like it's taking away the presence of the lead vocal. So here is with no EQ.
You wanna give it to me like I wanna give it to you in an exotic way.
Yeah. Now without it. Or here's with the EQ.
You wanna give it to me like I wanna give it to you in an exotic way.
Yeah, the waves is just so much more tucked in the back. It doesn't sound like it's conflicting with the lead vocal as much. And then last, I have another sidechain compressor being activated by the lead vocal. So you can imagine what's happening here is every time the background vocals are coming in, this little compressor right here is pushing the background vocals out of the way to make room for the lead vocal. So here is without that compressor.
You wanna give it to me, like I wanna give it to you in an exotic way. I just wanna feed.
It's cool. And now here's with the compressor.
You wanna give it to me, like I wanna give it to you in an exotic way. I just wanna feed you, baby. Let me feel your body up. Let me feel your body up. Come and take your.
So it's not really doing very much in this section, and I would imagine the reason why is because when it gets to the chorus, it's going to be doing probably a lot more, which I'll demonstrate kind of later on. So that's my approach. Similar kind of with my my reverb and stuff like that. I will let's just do it this way. So quick little key command. If you have tracks selected, you can hit Shift S to solo and unsolo your selected tracks. If you have groups enabled, it's going to enable all the tracks within that group as well, even if you don't have them selected. So just be conscious of that. If you hit Shift M, it will mute. Shift I will do input monitoring, and Shift R will turn the track to ARM for recording. So Shift S, I, M, and R. Pretty simple to remember. Recording, input monitoring, solo, mute. So cool little key command I like to do there to mute and unmute things. Let's listen to these background vocals in context, hear how it sounds with the reverb and without the reverb.
Drop that wood off in that body. Hallelujah. Me, you an exotic way.
So it sounds good. I don't really put too much effort into that right there. And I have all of these tracks, all my background tracks, they're going to a background vocal verb send, similar to my lead vocal where I have the sending all of this stuff to my vocal reverbs. But on this one, couple things. I have a EQ on here that kind of helps take away some of the high breathiness of these background vocals and some of that low rumbliness and really places them in the background. So check out how the difference that makes.
Drop that wood off in that body. Hallelujah. Me.
And now here's with the EQ.
Drop that wood off in that body. Hallelujah. Me.
So it makes it feel a little bit darker. I don't hear a lot of the sibilance that I was hearing before. And I'm not trying to really change the tone of the reverb or make it sound like telephonic. I just kind of want to make it feel like it's in a different reverb space than the lead vocal, but it's still using the same reverbs. Because if I start creating other reverb tracks, it starts getting really confusing. I have to monitor 6 reverbs or however many reverbs instead of just 3. It's hard enough just monitoring 3 with all these tracks going on. And so I want the vocals to all live in the same space, but I want them to feel like they're in different placements. So by doing the reverb sends to an auxiliary track and then adding modulation and stuff to that auxiliary before it goes to the reverb, you can really have individual control over different sections of your song. You can have background vocals that have more reverb in certain sections of the song and less sections of the song. You can have it to where there's EQ, delay. So in this example, I have a delay plugin on here that is doing 100 milliseconds of delay, and I have it set to 100%. So what's technically happening here is the lead vocal has zero delay going to these reverb sends, essentially, right? Like if Pro Tools is doing delay compensation correctly, but essentially it's sending a undelayed signal. So it is, as soon as the vocal is spoken, it is being processed into the reverb and you hear it, unless I have pre-delay in the reverb. But that's irrelevant because we already set our reverbs up for our lead vocal. They sound good, but what I'm doing now is then we have all of our lead vocal. Think of it like you're looking at a stage, right? Like, I don't know if anyone, or if the people are watching, if everyone goes to church, but the way those are kind of set up is the choir is kind of in the back part of the church towards the walls, and the lead singer is center stage with the mic, and you hear the lead vocalist more usually because they have a microphone versus the chorus and the choir, which there might be a microphone placed in front of like the whole group of like 10 to 15, maybe even more, 20, 30 people, but they're not directly in front of their mouths like how I have my mic right here where you hear every little detail of, what I'm saying. It's just they're in the room and they overall capture the sound of everything. So what I'm trying to do is create a sense of depth with the reverbs that I have. I have my reverb effects that already sound good on my lead vocal, and I want to send my background vocals to those effects, but I want them to feel like they're further back. And the way you make things sound further back with reverb is by introducing pre-delay. Because if you think about it, the further away you are from the walls, the longer it's going to take for the sound to actually reflect off those walls and come back. And in like churches where there's like really long cathedral like hallways and the chorus is kind of in the back of the room, when they're doing their choir thing, those sounds are having to pass the lead vocalist and go all the way to the back and then come back to the room to make those reflections. And so they sound further back, further away. And to do that, you do add delay. So that is the purpose of adding this delay after this EQ right here to create that sense of depth and space. Just for kicks and giggles, let's bypass it and see what it sounds like without any delay.
Drop that wood off in that body.
In context, let's add some of these lead vocals back in. Otherwise, you're not going to, I guess, hear the difference.
Active bag. Drop that wood off in that. I can make your body praise me. Hallelujah. You wanna give it to me like I wanna give it to you in exotic way. I just wanna.
So let's go back. So let's go back to that section where he's really stacking the background vocals underneath the lead vocal. Let's do before any delay.
You wanna give it to me like I wanna give it to you in exotic way.
And now here's with delay.
You wanna give it to me like I wanna give it to you in exotic way. You wanna give it to me.
So I can't really hear the difference per se, but let's crank this up so you can really get an idea of what's actually kind of going on. So I know it's at 100 milliseconds. I'll just remember that. And let's crank this bad boy all the way up, see what we get.
You wanna give it to me like I wanna give it to you in exotic way. You wanna give it to me like I wanna give it to you in exotic way. You wanna.
So you hear what it's doing right there? The reverb's kicking in like later than what the background vocals are even singing.
Active bag, drop that wood off in that. I can make your body praise me. Hallelujah. You wanna give it to me like I wanna give it to you in exotic way. I just wanna feed you, baby. Body up, body up.
You hear what it's doing there? Like the reverb's almost like a delay.
Put off in that body. Hallelujah. Me.
So let's set this up to something a little bit more short.
Put off in that body. Hallelujah. Me. You an exotic way. Fish, body up.
So you hear how there's a little bit of a delay now before the reverb's heard?
Put off in that body. Hallelujah. Me. You an exotic way. Fish, body up. Put off in that body. Hallelujah.
So you can kind of hear what's happening here. It's just spreading the reverb out and putting it kind of a little bit more in a further space. And when you add that in context with the lead vocal, which by the way, like the lead vocal reverb is like definitely like way like louder than the background vocals for sure. So kind of hard to really hear it, but the purpose is to basically put it in a different space, put it further behind the background or put it further behind the lead vocal and all the effects so that things feel just like there's space and depth. So now let's play everything together and see what it sounds like.
You keep telling me